Well met, lords and ladies, Jacob Butter speaking, and a warm welcome to this week's Walking Wednesday. It's warmer than I thought it would be today. And in fact, I actually have long trousers on as of September. That's mainly because of the presumed rain, and also because yesterday, during our outing, we ended up at this place again for the monthly quiz. So I don't know if you remember, or if I even mentioned this before or not, but what actually happened during the last quiz was that the team that I was on actually won it. So yeah, and we were down a member as well. So of course, we were all there today, determined to claim another prize of some wine, because there's always wine, and then well, I think it was champagne actually. Never mind. And then also a bunch of fizzy drinks that were prepared for each individual person, but all got passed to me. So I've been making my way through those, and I've still got some left, which is just as well, because I don't think we're going to get any more samples. Unfortunately, our title was not defended. We had all of our members, but sometimes it's like that. Sometimes the odds are in your favor. Sometimes you get around on agriculture, which I actually think we did relatively well in. I don't know. There was also a music round where the songs were all about days of the week, or like not about days of the week, but they featured days of the week in the title. So like the typical or in the lyrics. So it could go from great to song like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That one. That wasn't one of the options. Neither was Friday by Rebecca Black, which I was surprised they didn't actually pull that one out, because that would have been hilarious if they did. But oh well. Instead they went with Last Friday Night by Katy Perry, which is the second time that Katy Perry has appeared as an option, as an answer to a music round. So I don't know if the hosts just are like really big Katy Perry fans, or if someone in their family is, or if that's just one of the modern artists that they are familiar with. I don't know. So yeah, who's to say? But yeah, either way, of course, we always have a great time. It's a nice family activity anyway. In fact, we even got the whole collective of us got referred to as the quiz family by one of the hosts. So yeah, they clearly because it is mostly the same people that keep showing up. I know this because the same team consistently win, unless they happen to not be there, in which case we apparently win. There you go. They've been reshuffling the rules to make it a little bit fairer as well, which may have worked in our favor. Actually, no, I don't think we need it in the end for our victory, because the idea behind it is that the official rule was that you were supposed to have a maximum of 6 members per table. There are a few people who started to break that. The classic thing where it's like, oh yeah, well, we've got another friend or something who's in town for a bit, or we've got another family member who wants to join. Can we add one more, please? Like, oh yeah, sure, one more. Oh well, this other person's here now. We can add like one extra person. Oh yeah, that's fine. Yeah, one more. That kind of thing. It's sort of like if you remember how Tommy Innit asked to invite some friends onto the Dream SMP, and then it turned out there were just a whole multitude of them that kind of took over the whole thing and decided to make a political drama out of it. Yeah, it was like that, but more gradual, is what I understand. I've heard, because bear in mind we're always in the corner, and I'm not, actively trying to scan across the other members or anything. I have heard that there was a table of 10 at one point, and that's almost enough to split into two groups anyway. But of course you want to be there with your family and friends, because that's the whole point. I say that when we were originally invited by a friend of the family, her team was full, so we formed our own, and that's what we've been doing ever since. So obviously there are exceptions and thresholds. It would have been just like the three of us, you know, my parents and myself, but then we included, because we made our own team, so it's two of my aunts, and then now my cousin as well, who's our sixth member. We're a very organised unit now, actually. You know, we've set ourselves accordingly so people who know about sports, because it is done at a cricket club, so, you know, it's always a sports round. Yeah, so people who do know about sports can actually talk amongst themselves on one side, and the rest of us can focus on the dingbats that we keep doing. But yeah, I haven't got to the rule change, actually. The rule change that was supposedly has made an impact, according to them, but without really properly going into detail about said impact, is that if it kind of works like, honestly, like D&D modifiers, to use an example that people on this channel would get, where if you have a team of 6, then you just have then your points are the same as before. You know, you tally them up as you do normally. You know, so your modifier is 0. But then, of course, if you're one member down, like we were last time, then you get an extra point. You get +1, basically. They're supposed to be added at the end. I would have thought, personally, that it would make more sense to do that per round. It's like an extra person, but then again, maybe that would be too much of an advantage if people are, you know, not as confident and have a team of 3 or something. They're guaranteed 3 points. They might end up beating somebody who, a group that, you know, just kind of stumble because, you know, agriculture's not their thing or something. So maybe that's why they don't do it that way. But yeah, overall, if your team is a group, if you have a team of 5, you get +1, you know. Obviously 4 is +2, 2 is +4, you know, that kind of thing. And then obviously the reverse is true. You know, if you have a team of 7, you have a point subtracted. That feels definitely like, you know, the round thing should apply, where it's like, well, if you have 7 people instead of 1 per these different rounds, there are 6 rounds in general, so someone's almost guaranteed to know something. I'm still waiting on that Greek mythology round that never came, so we'll see. We'll see if my moment comes. But yeah, it's all those things. So I want to do like a project at some point, like a story around like assembling the perfect pub quiz team or something. Like the main character, you know, gets it into his head, or into her head, or whoever, into their head, that, you know, they need to you know, win at all costs or something, and they get really obsessed with doing so, and so they keep assembling the perfect team and overstressing about these different places and touring around all these quizzes until it, you know, consumes them, and then suddenly they've got to remember that it really all is intended to be in good fun in the first place. That's my arc. No one steal that, please. Sorry, just waiting for this car to go forwards, or this car to come back. I'm guessing when they say that it's had an impact, that the teams that normally have, you know, 7 to, I suppose, apparently 10 players, we're not in the upper, we're not the top scorers necessarily anymore. And that was the case last week, but it was also the case this week, allegedly. Because most of the they don't read out all the scores because they don't want to embarrass the team that came in last or whatever. You can ask them how much you scored, in which case actually we forgot to do that this time, because we were kind of like, all right, well, this is ridiculous. The team won again. Yeah, we're out of here. You know, not really. We also, you know, just for the sake of being good sports, the team that came in one of the teams that because we had to swap and like mark other people, the team that we marked actually came in joint third with 53 points. The thing is, they were my aunt, who was tallying up their scores, didn't add the extra point because they were also group of 5. Which meant that they would have got 54 points and therefore granted them a place in joint second. So that is something that we said to them, you know, go ahead and like mention it to the hosts. Everyone was leaving by that point and there is no runner-up prize, so, you know, it's just for the sake of, I don't know. That's one thing, I don't know if they, I don't think they have like statistics or anything as far as who keeps winning, because obviously it's a thing where like you book it, so not everyone is there all the time. So it's not like, you know, we're tallying things up in a league or something, but that'd be fun. Well, that'd be a good thing if it's a live action project. I save on location by filming in the same area, but like constantly having like a league and tally. Yeah, there you go. A nice simple thing. I haven't done a live action like film project in like 7 years actually. It's all been animations and machinimas and well, musicals, which is not a problem, just something that I've observed. But yeah, who knows, that may end up being something that I can do at some point, because I've been in the process of applying for an MA in film studies, animation and digital arts, and you know, just kind of really trying to bolster like what I've you know, acquired thus far to justify the involvement in the first place. So we're in the middle of that currently, but you know, these things happen. And that was a very you know, that's one of these spur of the moment, you know, things I was sort of recommended like a different MA course. So I was like, well, I mean, I want to pivot back to my original plan. Remember how back in 2022 I said that I was you know, exasperated with everything that had happened with the Siren story, so I was going to do other stuff for a year and then make a return and do an MA of some kind, which ended up with, you know, not happening because that's when the recommendation to try language assistance came in, and then working towards being part of that program, and only now that sort of that started to seem like it's not going to happen because of the lack of information and, you know, the whole issue with MWV and all that stuff. Now I'm like, okay, the rabbit hole is deep enough. Let's try something that I had been thinking about for some time, and just, you know, hope that I can come across as the qualified person that I may not be. I think someone's trying to summon me. Yeah, if it was the beginning of the video, that would have been perfect. Anyway, so that's also what I've been, you know, working on this week. And it's also the reason why at some point you'll probably see a show reel of some kind appearing on the channel, because, I mean, if I'm going to make one of those, I might as well, you know, make it a public video. Because that's something that they also requested to assist in that, you know, like supporting evidence. I should start my videos like that. That'd be perfect. Nah. To gives too much 2017 Jake Paul energy for me. Not that didn't work, but still. Anyway, what was I mean, that was kind of it really, as far as, you know, I've been setting stuff in. I did the application, I applied, and it was a very quick process because the deadline was a few days ago when I submitted it. The other thing, I guess, was the fact that you know, I was asked to submit a personal statement alongside of it, because that's what we normally do with applications of that nature, and I misread it a little bit. I thought that it said keep it within the range of 500 to 3,500 words. So, you know, I prepared 2,000 words, roughly 2,100, I think. Trying to go through like how I like organically got more into you know, digital media as time went by, and how it sort of, you know, was a natural like gravitation, really. Covering a lot of those details. I started describing a few of them because obviously to an outsider, you know, talking about gacha with no context is a difficult thing to do. Turns out I read it wrong. So the actual thing they said was keep it within 500 words or 3,500 characters. Oh dear. So basically, I said that was something that my dad pointed out when I sent it to him to, you know, like proofread and such, because obviously he's the expert about this kind of thing. And yeah, as it turns out, it's a good thing that, you know, I was like, oh wait a minute, this is the main characters, and I'll check that. Oh, the main characters. So then, you know, I did, because we were running out of time, I did in fact, I did in fact, you know, allow the expert to use a little bit of AI to paraphrase what I'd said, keep as many words as it could from my own description, and just keep the essence. Turns out the AI lied and it said it was exactly 500 words. It wasn't. And also there were a few bits in there that obviously, you know, didn't make sense, or, you know, were like punctuation things that could clearly come from AI specifically, like a lot of you know, like extra hyphens and dashes and stuff like that. That's you know, obviously not really me. So obviously I then proofread that version, you know, reworded a few things. I had to add a little bit extra information, but fortunately, even though it ended up being 629 words, it was under, there was like 3,400 something characters, and thus in the limit. Sent that to my dad to proofread. He said it was fine. I plopped it in and finally finished the application after multiple hours of trying to get all this stuff together, some of which ended up being unnecessary because, as it turns out, much to you know, the surprise of pretty much everyone, I can talk about myself for quite a while, especially if it's about, you know, my whole life. Anyways, what are we at? Minute 18 of this video about just this week. Yeah, that tracks. So yeah. Obviously, if there were more time, I wouldn't have used the AI for that. Then again, I would have probably you know, said like, you know, someone please, you know, highlight the stuff that they deem to be unnecessary here, because, you know, I'm not always the best at figuring out what is the most relevant information or what they're looking for, because they don't want, from what I understand, they don't want something that's too autobiographical unless it like relates to what unless it relates to the course that you're applying for, which is why I tried to keep everything so that it was obviously relevant. So it's like, okay, you know, this is where I got into theatre, which then led to this thing, which led to YouTube, which led to digital editing, which led to The Mutant Girl, which led to, you know, other stuff. And then they also wanted to know about a project that I want to do, for which I didn't say the very simple pub quiz idea, because, of course, when it comes to university stuff, if you recall from my Walking Wednesdays when I was there, I tend to make my life complicated on purpose. And that's partly because at university is one of the only places where you have the resources immediately to do that kind of thing, and to varying degrees the guidance to pull it off. Obviously, like the two examples I can think of are probably the time I made a mute protagonist for a radio play, and try to see how far I could take the concept of no narration and just the direct address, you know, like how, not direct address, you know, of describing actions on stage, on the radio, I mean, the way that Shakespeare wrote a few moments of, you know, like the classic, like some of the classic Shakespeare moments where something's being described in a very like flowery, poetic way, are partly there because there aren't that many stage directions in Shakespeare's scripts. There are a few, but not many. Quite famously, you know, King Lear just, you know, says, you know, he dies, and that's it. But yeah, it's one of those things where if you like pay attention to it, you can tell that we're supposed to get exactly what's going on from what the character's describing, basically. You know, is this a dagger which I see before me, the handle toward my hand? Come, let me clutch thee. I have thee not, and yet I see thee still. You know, that kind of thing. It was like, okay, we've got an immaterial dagger. He can't touch it, the handle's towards his hand. What's it there? And then it comes back later on, and, you know, it's like, you know, stained in blood, because, you know, it's pointing towards, you know, where King Duncan's sleeping, and yada yada, you know, that kind of thing. Happens a lot, but that's the best example I have. So I tried that because, again, why not explore? If you get a bad mark in like one thing, you know not to try it again. You can just, you know, play it safe next time. But fortunately, it ended up working. It wasn't the best mark, but it wasn't the worst either. That's what I wanted to see if I could actually do it. It's like with Siren Story. You know, as much as that ended up stressing me out because of the lack of the aforementioned guidance and the fact that the work schedules of everyone involved had to be accounted for, and that's the same teacher that said, oh yeah, write something for an ensemble piece, then chastised me for writing for many characters because I need to arrange all the work schedules. Yeah, a lot of that stuff happened. Despite all of that, the idea behind it was, so I'm going to block this because I think that's where the sound will go. I don't want the wind to muffle me too much. The wind doth muffle my sound, you know. Okay. So that's why that's why I tried that, you know. Like, why not? You know, the musical that I was I was halfway through writing anyway. Why not turn that into something major, you know, or something on stage for the final production? Because one of my biggest dreams at the time was to write a musical and to see it performed. I didn't necessarily need to direct the musical. That's something I also thought someone else would do, because I talked with a few people about that. But you know, it ended up happening. So, you know, I accomplished my dream at that point. So yeah, I think that's why I started like thinking about film and stuff, because I thought, okay, well, you know, that's the next thing that I would like to try and do. And as much as it seemed very like out of left field to apply for something like that, it you know, I've been thinking about it for some time, but also, like I said in the personal statement, in both versions, or all three really, it's been happening quite organically. Something I would like to improve on. I mean, we saw how much, you know, studying film helped Eli with ballet pops. Who's to say that won't end up applying elsewhere once I, you know, have the knowledge, and I can get a head start on you know, stuff for next year rather than, you know, having a repeat of 2023 basically, which was not fun. So yeah. That's what I'm hoping for. And also, oh sorry, I forgot to say what the project was that I was going to do. So what I was going to do, the thing I said was like, you know, more ambitious than the pub quiz idea, was because one of my dad's best friends, or possibly his actual best friend, you never know, he's actually also part of that course by coincidence. But years ago, 2023 ironically, he talked about something that he was working on, where it's all about like trying to, you know, combine physical and digital media to try to create greater immersion, like take advantage of what we can do digitally to, you know, immerse people physically. And that's something that can apply to TTRPGs. So when I mentioned the film course, he happened to be in our house watching the football downstairs. So it's like, oh well, okay, he's here, all right, I'll talk to him. So I mentioned it again, now with my increased knowledge of tabletops in general, and my actual experience with them. So I had that in the personal statement too. And thinking like, yeah, you know, some of these things, especially for live plays, end up, you know, a lot of live plays out there either have just an image that they use, like the beginning Quest of the Rising Sun. Actually, that was how we started. Before I took over and decided to add more pizzazz, partly for this reason. But they end up either having a still image, or they have just the characters there without much, you know, physicality going on. Like you say, like people like Critical Role or Legend of Vantress that have the people physically there. You know, they're animated enough in their own performances to, you know, substantiate that. Although if you go back to watch older Vantress content, when they were, you know, more remote, that came across a lot less because they're unable to interact with each other directly and, you know, play off other stuff. And it's not like you can't have a podcast experience, but there's shows like Dimension 20, for example, that really like to, you know, try and play around with, you know, with you know, there's so many models and jump cuts and, you know, editing out a lot of stuff and highly polishing as much as possible, framing the camera around the table instead of like, you know, just one, they do multiple just broadcast at the same time, you know, those situations. And yeah, they can, and I can see something like that, but enhanced with some digital aspects that unfortunately I had to remove from the personal statements. But hey, you know, I might be talking to somebody who's you know, teaching the course now, so I can mention in greater detail about that, and once again bring up VTubers, which is something else that ended up coming up that the AI deemed unnecessary, and I was unable to add back because of word count. So yeah, it's been quite something. So yeah, I've been thinking about all of that. Clearly, again, I can talk about myself in this way. If you were interested in it, hopefully so would this other person. And if you want to see more of like actual, you know, our actual live play, the next episode is coming out tonight. We're going to do a two-shot, really, but for the purposes of our, you know, theme songs and such, we'll have the one-shot. So it's going to be new characters this time, and a bit of a pirate adventure on the Butter Bunch as part of our, you know, occulta tabletop universe thing, whatever we want to call it. Missions of Occulta, obviously. So hopefully you'll enjoy that. Pretty sure it's at usual streaming time, but it might be, I said it might be earlier. We never set up earlier than that. Come usual streaming time, and then we'll be around. And hopefully you enjoy it. Embark on us with this pirate adventure while I practice me voice for me character. And with that, please leave a like or dislike, because your opinion matters. Subscribe to my channel, you know, that kind of whatever they did before. And on that note, until next time, farewell.